Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I want to talk about the specific person that avoidants get attached to. It's usually the person that they respect and feel safe with. That is the main criteria. There are some ways that we can break this up, and I think it's important because I've worked with so many couples. I've seen you guys on consulting calls. I used to be an avoidant. My significant other used to be avoidant. And so I have a really good insight about how avoidants work because I used to be an avoidant, right? Like I understand the mindset of them very well. And so I feel like it's really important to kind of break it down from those fundamentals for you guys to understand what is that specific person that avoidants get attached to. And I think a lot of people think it's wrong to modify yourself a little bit to help your partner. I don't agree with that narrative really at all. And this is just my opinion as of current day. Maybe I will change someday. But I feel that when you love someone, you're in a relationship with them. It's okay to modify a little bit so it's safer for them to feel comfortable as well for you, right? You want your partner to be more emotionally invested and more commitment forward. That will change them, at least a fundamental part of them, but it's also important for them to do so in order to make you happy. It's the same thing. Some of you guys want to modify some behaviors of yourself so that you can let your partner feel more loved and appreciated. It's just so that your relationship withstands some of the issues that's happening in this entire world, right? Relationships more than ever are just breaking apart. And so it's important that if you guys love each other and there's no abuse or manipulation or things like that, that you want to try to stay together if you both are happy and trying to make it work. And so respect is one of the most important things for an avoidant, right? They feel respect and love are strongly correlated. Most people do, but the way avoidants see it is much more strongly correlated, even more so than the average person. And so I think that that's why I want to stop at this point first. And then we're going to talk about the points of this particular person, what you can do if you want to be the specific person, or if you want to be aware that you are that specific person. Because a lot of you guys are, because I've actually had calls with you guys. Okay. So avoidants, they perceive respect deeply correlated with love, with commitment, security, and they perceive it as something earned and upheld rather than freely given. So this is the part that is very interesting. In the beginning of a relationship, avoidants don't always act like an avoidant. At least you don't see it right away. The reason, which I know a lot of you guys are not going to believe, but it is true, it's because they don't fully respect you because they don't know you. Okay. Avoidants don't give you the real version of themselves. They're not even being fully honest with you because they do not fully respect you. And when they start respecting you, they tell you more of what they expect changed. They tell you more of the things that they struggle with, the things that they want. And for you, that's a lot of boundaries and a lot of walls and a lot of detachment, which you're right about that, right? They need to adjust on their side. But they are giving you the true version of their limitations because they trust you. And so you see that change. Every person who's been with an avoidant, you see that change. In the beginning, they're a little more open, and then later they seem more rigid. But the odd part is they're still with you, or they keep coming back, and the relationship and the bond has actually increased to some extent, but it doesn't feel like it and it doesn't look like it. But you know it because they're here with you longer and you have more conversations, and maybe the relationship is even longer than you expected, right? Maybe you guys have been together for years, but it doesn't feel like they love you. And so for avoidance, love is seen as a process oriented action built over time through trust, communication, and shared experiences rather than intense feelings. For fearful avoidance, it can sometimes flip-flop, to be honest. Sometimes it's intense feelings and sometimes it's shared experiences. And it depends on their trigger. It depends on the wound that they feel. It also depends on the experiences they have literally had as an individual, right? Some fearful avoidance, it was developed because they were in the foster care system. Some fearful avoidance, they had one very, very painful, traumatic incident. Sometimes it's small incidences continuously throughout their entire childhood. And so each of these cases, for example, have different levels of their trauma, PTSD, right? But there are different versions of PTSD, which is very, very common. Almost every fearful avoidant has PTSD, sadly, right? And so that's a little bit different. However, you will know your own particular case, right? And of course, with fearful avoidance, more particularly because of the trauma they've had, more trauma that's added onto their life becomes even more difficult. If they've had a very terrible divorce, if they've been cheated on, every person, this can affect them a lot. But with fearful avoidance, even more so because it reignites a trigger that they had, the PTSD, right? And so this occurs. And so it's important to keep that particular caveat in mind if your partner is a fearful avoidant. So what does this look like? Who is this person, this specific person that an avoidant gets attached to? The first one, that this is why they respect you so much, is you do communicate very clearly and you don't expect immediate change. But I can see why this happens. Like I can see it with many of my cases, right? They just communicate clearly and they're not expecting immediate change, but they still have change. It's like internally, you can tell that she respects herself and she respects him. This is an example, right? Or either way, right? Vice versa. The gender doesn't really matter, right? But this is very interesting because you can immediately tell when, at least for me, I could immediately tell when I had a call with this person, right? Or any person. If you want to have your questions answered by me on a live call, we are having a group consultation session, which you guys are welcome to join. It is much more affordable than my other rates, quite a bit more affordable. And so you guys might really like that. The questions that you ask can be anonymous, but I still will answer them live and you'll hear a lot more details because of that. You can join the call with the camera off. You can just be part of the chat. That's fine as well. But the questions you can ask on the intake form and you can write whatever you want. And if I have time to get through all of them, which I plan to do so, yeah, I'll answer them in a lot of detail. And I think that'll be helpful for a lot of you guys who you want to get some clarification on some dynamics, you want some direction, and it's not as feasible for you to see me one-on-one. But this will allow you to not just get your questions answered live and detailed by me, but also will allow you to see other people's questions answered as well, in case that there are a lot of dynamics that you can learn from. And so that's kind of the goal of this call. So if you are interested, that is pinned in the comments. And once you go ahead and sign up, get your seat, you will be emailed in a couple business days the session link. And so please keep in mind and look out for that. And it may go into your spam, so check that as well, because I want you guys to have that. The date is going to be, let's check and open it right here. I think it is, yes, it is August 9th. At 11 a.m. Eastern. And so for me, that will be 11 a.m. For you, check that time. And that should work out okay for some of you guys, most of you guys, because I can kind of see your time zone. I think it's a pretty good time, which is why I picked it. But if you want to join, that is pinned in. And so the next one is someone who views love as commitment and an action, rather than focusing heavily on what makes them feel 100% of the time. Avoidance, when they really commit to you, you will start seeing that their view of love is very action oriented. Okay, so I'm going to give an example of things that I've seen, speaking of the calls I've had, right? An avoidant might say something like, give me time. We don't have to be perfect. Let's put this argument on the shelf, right? And let's say you are anxious. It doesn't matter. It's an example, right? You might say something like, I feel like we never talk about things. We're always putting things under the rug. And you're right? Like you're not wrong about that. And then their side is, I want you to like be grateful and happy with the progress I am making, because my progress is the way I show commitment. And so in their mind, they want you to see it from that angle. And I understand, like you definitely want more progress. You want them to have a stronger threshold for conversations. Very, very normal. Okay. I'm not denying that. However, it is also important that at least what you can do is if they say that or if they show that you acknowledge that. You're right. I can see what you're saying. I want to be more appreciative because I do see that you're changing and I do see you're putting in a lot of effort, okay? The next one is holding them accountable while communicating respectfully. I love this one because, to be honest, you guys are pretty good with this one, but I also am happy to see that this is something you guys are also improving on, etc., because I want everyone to be able to do this, regardless of your attachment style. When you do this, the person that you love and loves you, they open up regardless of their attachment style, right? Hold them accountable while still communicating respectfully. It's not going to happen right away. They're not going to open up right away. Some people might even be taken back by this, but it's really important if you want to build a long-term relationship with them. Hold them accountable. You said that you would text me. I just want to make sure everything's okay, but I also want to let you know that I was expecting this. Then they can come back and tell you the reality of what happened. Yeah, my meeting was a little bit longer. I didn't mean to ignore you, or I promise I wasn't ignoring you. I'll call you as soon as I get out of the meeting, whatever it is, right? The next one is they I know you're not going to like this one, but I always am going to be honest with you. The truth is, avoidants tend to get very attached and connected and get married to people who don't really need that much attention or validation from others. I mean, this is a good thing, right? But I think the way it's worded can be a little tricky, but it is the way avoidants word it. So that's why I worded it like that. Sometimes avoidants feel like if you're a person who always needs them when you feel sick or when you're tired, and these are normal things, by the way. They're afraid that you do this with everybody and that you just need attention from everybody and that you need validation that you're sick and things like that. And so what I would recommend, if they have this complex because they have a lot of trust issues, right? You can mention, I want you to show up when I'm sick, or I want you to do A, B, and C. But it's not that I do this with everyone. It's not that I can't handle it. I just feel appreciated and loved when you do this, or I feel appreciated and like you're there for me. It's no pressure, and it's not that I'm expecting it or I need this. It's that I just enjoy having your companionship when I'm in this situation. That will help them a lot to not feel this way, because they do get a little triggered with this one. I'm not going to lie to you. And sometimes it's way out of left field. So just keep that in mind. If you communicate like that, you can reassure them. Okay. The next one is that they fall very hard for people who believe in consistency and effort rather than grand gestures and strong expressions, right? And so a lot of people, they do have a very good husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend. They really do love their partner, but they're not very expressive, and they need to work on their expression. Absolutely. But I think the difficult part is sometimes the incompatibility comes with that the person doesn't care about the effort or consistency. They want the grand gestures. They want the marriage. They want the big wedding. They want certain things, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying it's incompatible. So I notice avoidants tend to gravitate towards people who don't expect that nearly as much. They like the person that likes the more consistent, scheduled type of romance, okay? And so I hope this video has helped with somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.